Imagine your business not just surviving, but thriving. Your wealth locked in, your opportunities exploding, and your family's future built on a legacy that never fades. I'm Leah Garcia, a financial strategist and insurance professional. I help entrepreneurs and high-growth enterprises protect, distribute, and transfer their wealth through my proven system, the Wall of Wealth. I unite your experts into one cohesive strategy, because the most expensive line on your balance sheet isn't debt or taxes, it's conflicting advice. Ready to align every dollar with your mission and turn today's success into tomorrow's divine promise. Wealth today, dynasty tomorrow.
Happy Wealthy Wednesday, champions. Come on in. It's going to be an incredible conversation. I am super excited. I have my matcha all warmed up and ready to go. I would love for you to let me know where you're tuning in from. Where are you joining us? Because today's going to be epic. So I know that right now we are live on Facebook. We're live on my YouTube channel, Dynasty Builder 93940. We're also live here on LinkedIn. So let us know where you're tuning in from. Where are you finding us? Let's see. Oh, let's see if I'm doing this. Oh my goodness. Okay. Not sure what's happening here, but listen, this is a live show. Things get a little wonky sometimes. Okay. We were trying to go live on X, but I don't think that's going to work today, but that's all right. We are still live. Many places you can find us. So I would love to know. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. Let me know where you're tuning in from, how we met. How do I know you? Listen, this is 2026. This is your opportunity and your year to come out of the shadows and get into the mix. Now's the time for you to shout yourself out. Listen, this is my show. I serve entrepreneurs and enterprises. So we have to be here. We have to shout ourselves out. This is your opportunity to network with others, connect with others, get to know other people who are here because someone is looking for you and what you do. I see you, Mr. Eric Dobbie's in the house. Oh my gosh, all the way from Hanford, Connecticut. Great to see you. Yama, my good friend, great to see you. Thank you so much. Now, go ahead and share this with somebody else. Invite someone else. Today's going to be an incredible conversation. And I'm so glad that you're here, Eric, because it's really because of an introduction that you made for me that I got to know this incredible young man. And truly, we talk about networking. We give a lot of lip service to networking. But then how many times do we actually do it? And this is what I mean. How many times do you sit down and actually get to know someone? I mean, beyond the highlight reel, right? Beyond the picture of who they are here professionally, how many times do you get to know the person behind the profile and really take a moment to learn about them and see who you could introduce them to? Who can you connect them to? What door can you open for them? That's one thing I love to do for my clients in my network. I just gave an introduction to Miss Nicole Amgai Galindo. I met someone, had an incredible coffee chat. And she said, I've always wanted to write a book and I've tried a few times, but I don't know what to do. I said, oh my gosh, here's my opportunity to do that. So let me ask you a question. Who's the most recent person that you opened a door for? Who is somebody that you connected to someone else? Because it's not always about us, right? Anytime we give, it's called the law of reciprocity. Whenever we give, it's going to come back to us tenfold. I always say giver's gain, and you can never outgive the giver. So let me know where you're tuning in from. I want to know who was the person that you actually did help with. Who did you actually network? I would love to know about that. So today's epic guest speaker, he is a Franklin Pierce University graduate with a background in finance and accounting. Zachary combines business and acumen with performance and driven mindset shaped by his experience as a collegiate athlete. He has quickly established himself as a top performer, consistently exceeding quotas and contributing directly to revenue growth. Passionate about personal development, which is one of my favorites, and long-term wealth building, Zachary brings a grounded real-world perspective on what it takes to succeed at a young age. His approach focuses on discipline, consistency, and understanding mindset differences shaping outcomes within generations. And that's what we're going to be talking about. Gen Z, how does Gen Z think about wealth? So please give it up for my incredible guest speaker, the one and only Mr. Zachary Mascaro. Welcome to Wealthy Wednesday, my friend.
How's it going, Leah? I appreciate you inviting me. Thank you. I'm excited to have this conversation, and I'm grateful for Eric Dobbie for, I love that intro, for, introducing me to you.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about, is truly getting that networking. So LinkedIn, I think, is kind of a newer platform for you. Would you agree?
LinkedIn, yes. LinkedIn, I've only been on LinkedIn really for the past 9 months since I've been in the working world. So I'm still fairly new to LinkedIn, but I would say for me personally, now it's my favorite social media platform, because you can, learn so much in terms of your career and your growth within what you want to do in business. It's been like the return on investment has been like innumerable for me. It's been great.
I truly believe that. I say everyone should be on LinkedIn, whether you are a professional, whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, even if you're a school teacher, whatever you are, whatever you're doing, you should be on LinkedIn. You will be amazed at the connections you can make by showing up on a professional platform.
Oh, for sure. Like, even for myself, like, I can meet other people that are in my industry, learn what they do, their tactics. I can help them and network that way. Especially even if you're a teacher, you can learn different things from other teachers throughout the world to better your craft. So you can become the best teacher you can be, because you can't become the best by yourself. You have to be around the best in your industry to really, become the best you can be. So yeah, that's what I really believe.
There
And
you
that's
go. You're already dropping golden nuggets. I love it. So share a little bit about how we connected.
Yeah, so it's through our good friend Eric Dobbie. I met Eric back in November shout out Eric with the comment. I met Eric back in November at a spiritual retreat. It was a Christian retreat I'd went through my church. And so I didn't know anybody at this retreat going in. And the first person I met was Eric. We sat down and had dinner together, and he was asking me a little bit about myself and what I do. And then, he told me that he worked on Wall Street and his path and how he's come, to obviously that retreat, but just his path through business. And we connected right away, when two people have the same energy and, I guess, passion for life and business, and, have the same goals, no matter, even though he's a little bit older than me, no matter we have the same, if you have the same goals, no matter the difference in age, you're going to get along. So we always, we connected after that, and he's been a great mentor to me ever since. And we talk on a regular basis, and I'm so grateful for Eric. And so I know Eric did that podcast with you. And so he mentioned to me, you should reach out to Leah and connect with Leah. So reached out to you via LinkedIn, and then now we're here. So yeah, shout out Eric. So grateful for him and what he's done for me.
That's so awesome. And I'm going to say shout out to you, Zachary, because a lot of people reach out to other people, and maybe they see some kind of a connection, or maybe they feel a little bit like there could be a connection, but you went that extra step. You actually implemented and reached out, and you are really doing the things and allowing yourself to be mentored, right? Being coachable and teachable. And by the way, that doesn't have to do with your age. I think most of us forget about how to be coachable and teachable. We can learn so much from other people, and yet sometimes we can tend to put those blinders on. So absolutely. And we've got a few people who've joined us. I want to welcome a few people. Of course, the one and only Mr. Eric Dobbie. Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate you. If you are not following Eric on Instagram, you got to follow him on Instagram. He does a lot of fun things over there. He does fun things everywhere, but I love his Instagram. I think that's where I make the most comments. Absolutely. And Miss Yama, great to see you. Thank you so much for my good friend. We actually enjoyed a coffee chat together. Listen, you never know what the outcome can be from a coffee chat, right? Just have a quick conversation with people. It doesn't need to be hours. I'm talking about 3-5 minutes, really, really quick. And then my good friend, Mr. Chris Monastery, he is saving teen lives. His story is incredible. He actually had a major catastrophic accident that was life-changing for him because of distracted driving. So he wants to bring awareness to distracted driving. He calls it saving teen lives, but I believe he's saving a lot of lives by his story, his mission, and his passion. So check him out, get his book, get his merch. He's got an incredible new merch, and he's going to hook me up with this stuff. Great to see you from the UK. Absolutely. So let's talk about our topic. Our topic today is how Gen Z thinks about wealth. So kick us off, Zachary.
Yeah, I would say the way Gen Z thinks about wealth is pretty polarized in a way. I would say on one hand, you have individuals like myself and a lot of the people I surround myself with that are very, long-term thinkers and go-getters. There's a lot of YouTube channels out there where you can really, I mean, we have the internet at our disposal every day. So the people that are taking advantage of those tools are the people that are really succeeding and, getting after it. And that's why, there's such a big polarization because you either have the people that are taking, the critical action, the critical steps to really build that long-term wealth and taking ownership and knowing like nobody's coming to save me. I have to figure this out for myself. And so they use those tools to really, I guess, expedite their business, expenditures. And then you have people that, aren't taking that ownership and are still, not going out in the world and are sheltered. And I think a lot of that comes from, the internet and social media. There's so much pros and cons to it because on the flip side, like they have the luxury lifestyle and like people see like you can get rich quickly and then they try and then they fail and they think nothing great is ever going to happen to them, like, and then they don't take ownership. And they I think a lot of times people in my generation have been babied in a way, and people your generation will probably say it too, we're not hard workers, we're soft. And there's a lot of people like that in my generation, and I think that just comes from social media, and I think it comes from not having to take ownership of what they do. And so thankfully, like I've had parents that have really taught me the right way to do things. And I think a lot of that comes down to your upbringing and how you were raised, and knowing that the only way you're going to be able to make it in life is you have to take ownership for your actions and accountability, and you have to get in. If you don't, nobody's coming to save you. And I think that's partly why there's such a big polarization between the people that do get after it and then the people that don't.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually Gen X. We're considered like the forgotten generation. Everybody talks about the baby boomers and they talk about the millennials and they talk about Gen Z. They don't even talk about us, right? We're the drink out of the hose generation, right? They just threw us outdoors and said, don't come home until the lights come back on. Our parents didn't want to be bothered with us. We were the latchkey kids, and I was a latchkey kid. My mom, when I was a teenager, finally started working when I was about 12 years old. I would come home from school and have to take care of my sisters, have to figure out homework and all that stuff, how to make dinner. I mean, I was 12, I didn't know anything about that. What I would love for you to share, Zachary, is a little bit, because you alluded to it, a little bit about your upbringing. What are some of the things that you think your parents did that maybe a lot of your generation didn't have exposure to?
I think the first thing my parents did was they really set the example. So like my dad's up every day for 5 a.m, going to work, coming home 6, 7 o'clock at night. Like, so seeing that as a kid, it really sets the example of how you're supposed to work and how you're supposed to provide for your family. And then even my mom works normal hours, but she's on the laptop, early morning, and she's on it until 9 o'clock at night, and she never really gets off the thing. So it's taught me and my sister even how to work hard and how to really put your all into something. And they always, put me into sports through a young age. And my family is very, like, we love sports. We're very athletic, like my extended family as well. And so, putting me through that and help, telling me if I'm not playing on a team or if I did bad, like the only way you're going to figure this out is by working hard yourself and putting the time in yourself. That's the way you can achieve your goals. So learning that through sports has been huge for me. And, obviously I'm so grateful for my parents for instilling those values into me through sports and through their example. But yeah, if I didn't have those two things, I think I would be at a different spot in life. But thankfully, I was raised with two strong parents that really set the example, as well as my grandmother who lived with us. And that helped, carry along to me and my sister.
Absolutely. Shout out to your parents. What are your parents' names?
Joe and Merle.
Shout out to Joe and Merle. You did a wonderful job with your son, Zachary, and I'm sure with your sister as well. Yeah, that is really great. I love that. And what I would say is that I think sports teaches so many lessons, and it's difficult for a lot of parents to make the time commitment and the money commitment. But I would really implore you, if you have children or grandchildren or nieces and nephews, if you know somebody who's, growing right now, help to support that family to get them into a sport, even if they're not athletic. I mean, you can do pickleball, you can do swimming. There's so many, you could do golf. There's so many different sports, and not that they're going to become a collegiate athlete or a pro athlete. But I think being involved in sports teaches many lessons about teamwork, and it teaches them how to lose. Listen, everyone can be a great winner. Everyone can look great in the highlight reel, but what do you do when you don't hit the ball? How do you act when you don't strike out? My precious grandson played, he's 7, and so he was playing coach pitch this year. And he actually really, really noticed that. There was one little boy that when he would strike out, he would throw things and he'd kick the dirt and stuff. And he's like, Kims, I don't want to do that. I said, no, Milos, you don't ever do that. Try to encourage him. Try to help him. You know what? It's okay. You can do it next time. And so he tried to step up and do that. But that is really, really, really critical. I think sports are so many lessons. So what is your personal journey towards wealth building?
I think it honestly stems from sports. So from a young age, I always wanted to play professional baseball or basketball, but I was a better baseball player growing up. And so I always wanted to make money. I always wanted to be rich, and I always wanted to, live the life. But, and it's not like I come from a bad life, but, you always aspire to be more. And so through playing sports, obviously I developed the work ethic. I developed the ability to communicate with others. I developed, that kind of go-getter killer mentality, so that when I transferred into, the business world, it kind of, it co-aligned and it transferred with that as well. And so that really started when, I started working last year. I realized watching videos and with talking to people like Eric and people that are older, I think that's why having mentors is so huge. Because if you have somebody that's older and been through it, you learn, through the mistakes they made and the successes they had, how to apply that to your own life, so you can avoid the things that they did that were wrong, and you can continue the pattern of success that they were able to achieve. And so I really learned, like, okay, in this wealth building game, it's a long-term game. I can't think in the next 2 to 3 years. I have to think 10, 15 years, 20 years on how to build wealth, with whether it's a 401k, Roth IRA, whether it's my career path, like I'm going to stay here for a year, I'm going to do this for 2, 3 years, and then I wanted and just setting those goals for the next 10 years. Because anything that's get rich quick is that's what's really shown on social media, but a lot of that is fallacy, a lot of that's fake. And a lot of people that are doing that aren't even rich. So really, understanding how to discern between the signal and the noise has been huge. But yeah, that's why I've really developed a passion for wealth building, because as a former athlete, I need something to go after. I need something to grind for. Like, just having a focus keeps me, it gives me direction in life, and and obviously I have goals for the future, to have a family and, continue on, and help my family, my family that I just came from. So, having those long-term goals and then the reason why you're doing things, I think is so huge. And that's kind of the reason why I've, become passionate about building wealth for the long-term future.
Yeah, I love that. And so what's interesting to me is that you really are more of a long-term thinker, which I say we're more in a microwave society. How have you really developed that?
I think I developed it through just realizing, like, I think it's just through talking with people that have done it, like with talking with somebody that, like Eric, and talking with, older individuals that he's connected me to. Like, this is not a 1-year game. Like, to save up for a house, you can't do that in your first year out of college. To, achieve your goals, you can't do that in your first year out of college. Even going back to playing sports, like, I wanted to make the MLB. But you're not going to do that through 1 or 2 years of training. This is something where it's going to take time. It's going to take time to learn these lessons. It's going to take time to make the right connections. And so that's what's really helped instill in me the long-term value, because I know in life, things really, even though they say life is short, a lot of times your goals, they do take time. I saw a quote one time. It was like, people often, overestimate how much they can do in 1 year, but they underestimate what they can do in 3 to 5 years. So, that really, stuck with me, because I used to be somebody that I would always overestimate what I could do in the short period of time. But then, like, 5 years later, I'm like, wow, look how far I've come. And so that's really instilled in me, like, let's think long-term. Let's think, let's think broad. Obviously, let's think with a bigger picture here, but then you have actionable steps, along the way, so you can achieve those goals.
Are you guys getting some value from this? I could just like turn off my camera, get off stage, and just allow you to go ahead and continue speaking. I'm so impressed by you, but impressed isn't even the word. I'm really so in awe. And what I mean by that is you're allowing yourself to go through the process. You have an opportunity. You're already a leader. You have an opportunity to be a great leader. You've got poise. You've got eloquence, you've got the tonality, like you've got the presence. And how young are you, Zachary?
23.
23 years old. Oh my goodness. This is so incredible. I love it. I want to welcome a few more people who've joined us. If you guys have a question for Zachary, put it in the comments. We're here live, so we want to hear from you. I want to highlight and welcome Miss Misha. We welcome you so much. She is actually the founder of Infrared Vision. She just dropped her new book. Put in the comments, Miss Misha. People are looking for you and what you do. She teaches incredible topics about wealth building as well. So yeah, we've got lots of people here, and we have my good friend Miss. You see some people?
Yeah, shout out Manny. That's who I work with now at my new company. Blake, my former coworker, and then Nate is a good friend of mine as well. All that work in the same industry as me and are high achievers. So like I said, surrounding yourself with really good people that have the same goals is huge. So shout out those guys.
That's awesome. I love it. Love it. Also want to welcome our good friend from across the pond, Miss Coral. She is a cheerleader. I just adore her so much. She shows up in spaces and she's constantly bringing value, having great questions in the comments. She constantly is promoting our Monday mindset with Eric F. King. So I appreciate you so much. And she's also doing some incredible coaching as well as a travel business. Share it in the comments, Miss Coral. I see you everywhere. So I'm not really sure what the travel business is, but it sounds really cool. Yeah, Latchkey Kids. Yes. Shout out to my Latchkey Kids who are here, right? Shout out to the Latchkey Kids.
If I can ask a question, what's a Latchkey Kid? I don't know what that is.
Okay. Okay. A Latchkey Kid.
Embarrassing, but I don't know what it is.
No, don't be embarrassed because you shouldn't know what this is. It's terrible. Our parents went to work and they didn't have like after school care. Our parents a lot of times couldn't afford daycare. There really wasn't an idea of daycare. So they would give us the key. We wear it around our neck so that we didn't lose the key. And so then when we would get home, we had the key to the house and we would open up the door and let ourselves in. So they called it latchkey because I guess the key was around our neck, like a little necklace, right? Okay. So we would come home to an empty house. There wasn't snacks for us. There was nobody helping us with our homework. Heck, they didn't even know if we got home because we didn't have cell phones.
Yeah.
And parents a lot of times couldn't make phone calls from work. So if they came home and you were there, I guess they just assumed that we would be there. Like there wasn't any awareness of any care for us. I don't even know how that works. We didn't think of it that way though.
Yeah, I can't imagine that today. Parents are always like, even myself, like, you get nervous when you don't get a text back from somebody within that half an hour.
Absolutely. So it wasn't something we really thought about. It was just the way it was. Listen, your parents are at work, so you got to go to school, take care of what you need to have to take care of, and just go on with your day. So let's see. We've got the great Felipe Cofino, and he says, yes, this is a valuable conversation for all generations. I agree with you, Felipe. And we're going to talk about what we came here to talk about, which is how does Gen Z think about wealth? And why is there such a gap in what they believe? So what would you say as a whole? How does Gen Z interpret? How do they think about wealth?
I think, like I said before, I think it's pretty polarized. I think you have one side of Gen Z that really thinks long term, that really, are the go-getters, I guess you could say. They take advantage of the tools they have online, because online you don't have to go to university anymore if you want to learn how to build wealth. You have YouTube University. You don't need to go to a big school. So a lot of people do take ownership of that, and they do use those tools to their advantage. And I think it's the people that really realize that nobody's coming to save them. Nobody, there's not going to be this grand event where there's $1 million is going to fall on them. They know they're going to have to take practical steps every day, realistic steps to achieve their long-term goals. And so those are the people that are achieving the long-term wealth goals, and they're taking the practical steps. And then you have the other side of people where it's not really their fault. It's just they're distracted. You have so much on social media, so much noise where it's like, oh, these get rich quick schemes and these different things you could do, these courses where they think you could sign up and make all this money, or they just don't really want to do anything and they're not motivated. They don't have a purpose. They don't have a drive. They don't have the really go-getter mentality, maybe because, growing up, they weren't taught that, or they were babied, or they just never really found a purpose. And so those are the people usually not really doing much with their, their lives, and don't really have anything to work for. And so those are the people, I really have a heart for. And, I try to help, because I do have friends that are still kind of doing those things, because the other side of things is, it's a healthy, it's a prosperous, it's a magnificent lifestyle, where the other one is like, you're just kind of trying to get through life and you don't have any real purpose for getting up in the day. So yeah, I'd say that's why there's the disparity between both.
And I think more so in your generation, there really is a more of a divided, is what I've seen. Is there really are the people, and I would say any generation, but it really is magnified with the Gen Z, that there are the ones that really just kind of give up. They just feel like there's no hope. And I was doing some studying in preparation for this event today, and it made me think about a couple of things. One is, and I'm going to date myself. You don't know about this, Zachary. It's okay. It's a movie called Airplane. And maybe Felipe, you might know this. You might be too young. I'm not sure. But there was a movie called Airplane. Hysterical movie. I recommend anyone to watch it. But one of the things in there was they were trying to communicate with each other. And one was talking slang and the other person didn't know the slang. And so this older lady comes up. She goes, "Don't worry. I speak jive. Oh, you know what, brother? This is what he's saying. Go do this." And so she interprets it in the slang. It's hysterical. And so I know your generation has a different slang, because I was studying it. But you seem so articulate. I'm curious, like, do you feel like we're just so goofy? We're so uncool now. We think, listen, I'm Gen X. We always think we're cool no matter what our generation is, right? Baby boomers are still rocking their tie-dye shirts, believe me. So what would you say about anything you'd like to comment about that?
Yeah, I would say I definitely still speak with slang. Anybody who knows me in my personal life, like, yeah, I definitely speak with a lot of slang. And yeah, I'm friends with people of all backgrounds, so I'll let it go. I'll speak with all the slang there is. I listen to a lot of hip hop and rap music, so I was just kind of brought up, learning a lot of slang. But I think there's also the importance of, there's a time and a place for it. I think in the work world, like, certain things is okay, but you also just have to have a feel in the social awareness where it's like, I think it's important to speak educated and to speak like you belong there, because, people like yourself, if you hear me saying these, speaking with a certain slang in a certain tone, you're not going to take me as seriously as if I was speaking educated. So I think it all just comes down to a time and a place. But yeah, I definitely use slang like in my personal life and with friends.
So that's brilliant, because we all have multiple facets to our personality. We can speak jive or slang or whatever you want to term it, right, with our friends, but there's a time and a place. And so it's embracing that in a professional setting, on LinkedIn or other things, they're going to want you to speak in a professional tone, and really embracing that you can do that and you can still be really, really cool, right? You don't have to just be one or the other. I always think of T. Harv Eker. He says, why have your cake if you can't eat it too? You're going to have to do both. We got to be, it's almost like being bilingual, right? You can talk slang with your friends, but then also know how to speak professionally. Let's do a deeper dive into this wealth. One thing that I've learned, well, there's a couple of things that I've seen with my clients. A lot of my clients are baby boomers, entrepreneurs, business owners, and they're talking about succession planning, exit planning. How are they going to gracefully and monetarily leave their business? Well, a couple of things that I learned. Number one, they are not planning to leave their wealth to Gen X, which is my generation. They are not planning to leave, as a whole, they're not planning to leave their wealth to their children. They're planning to leave their wealth to either the community, starting a nonprofit, a foundation, to charity, or they're reaching down into your generation, into their precious grandchildren. That's number one. Number two is that they really are open to handing over their business, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a contractor, to somebody other than their children, because their children don't really usually care about what they do. They don't want to be a contractor. They don't want to be a roofer. So a lot of my clients are looking for, who could they give their business to? Is there an internship program that they can start? So I'm curious, have you found that is what you're seeing with your friends? Like, are their grandparents talking to them about giving them wealth or taking over businesses? What have you noticed that at all, Zachary?
I have noticed that is a trend with along like, some people that I know that they are looking to potentially, they would like to be in a position where they could buy an HVAC business or a plumbing business from somebody that is from Generation X, because obviously we know buying a business, especially in blue collar, is a lot easier to kind of scale and start up than actually doing a startup and having to get funding and, or having to have your own funding. It's a lot easier to, I guess, repeat the cycle of success that's already been proven versus, starting something new. So I have heard that that is a trend amongst people in my generation. Now, do I know anybody that's doing it personally? No, but it is something I'm interested in and would like to learn more about. So I appreciate you, bringing that kind of to the forefront, because that's something I am interested in and I would definitely bring to my friends, especially around here, because there are a lot of Generation X owners of small businesses around where I live, and I know in New England. So that's something where I think that's a really cool and, inspective idea to learn more about.
And I would say if you are that that Gen Z, and you do have aspirations, this is where I think networking, LinkedIn can bring so much value to you. I promise you, if you're going to school for chiropractic, I have a client right now who his succession plan is not going to sell his business. We just put together the strategy last week when I met with him. He's actually going to take on an intern, train them up, teach them his business, and really hand over his business to them. So whatever your aspirations, Blake, are, Zachary, whatever your aspirations are, whoever you are, think about that. We've got baby boomers. I think the percentages are like 63% of business owners are baby boomers.
Oh, wow.
They want to leave their business to someone. This is their baby. They've worked for it for 20, 30, maybe 50 years. Maybe it's a generational business. They don't want to sell it to somebody who might change the logo, change their mission, change the formula. They want somebody who's going to treat it and love on it and take care of it just like the baby that it is to them, right? This is their beautiful baby. And they'd rather hand that over to someone who is going to lean into their values and their principles. So I think it's an incredible opportunity.
Oh, for sure. I was going to ask too, did you like the people that you have seen that are selling those businesses? Have they found luck with finding people in my generation to sell the business to?
The majority of them, it's not selling the business. That's the key takeaway. Okay. They're talking about training them up, and maybe they will do to create an income. Hey, I'll give you a split. You're going to get a on this business. So that's the payback. So I'm talking about, you're not going to have to worry about an SBA loan, because baby boomers understand getting into a loan has caused them havoc, right? They lost their homes in 2008. They lost their money in 2008 and their 401k. So they know how devastating that can be. They want someone who's going to see their vision and love on it and take it over. So they're looking more of like percentages. And what that does is now that creates a passive income for them as a business owner, and they have an opportunity to hand over that business to somebody who's really going to take care of it. That means more to them than money. That's about their legacy. That's about them leaving something. That's about leaving their mark, right? They worked so hard, and now they're getting an opportunity to help someone else and watch somebody else thrive on that. Does that help?
That does make sense. They want to keep that lasting impact that they've had on society through somebody else, and they don't want somebody, I guess, to change the businesses or the mission statement of the business. They wanted to keep going forth and also help somebody that, will be a part of it and be passionate about it for years to come. That makes sense.
Yeah, or changing the formula. And I don't mean even just the recipe. I mean the formula of success. And this is what I mean by that. Yes, the recipe. Maybe they have a bread that I have one client that has a bread company, and he's created some different breads. So literally not changing the recipe, but also the recipe of success. We call it shaking hands and kissing babies, right? Knowing who the client is. When they come into the store, whatever that store is, or when they do commerce, you know who they are. You know their children. You know when their birthdays are. Like, you know things about them. That's what is so important to them, that they would love. They will forego the money because they would love somebody to step in and continue that recipe for success. Does that help, Zachary?
That makes a lot of sense.
That's important to them. It really is. So I know in your generation, a lot of times, I got to say this, I was doing research for this. I really was. And I came across this whole thing on YouTube, and it's called Why Gen Z Can't Read. I had no idea. I mean, it was a deep dive. It was blowing my mind. I was just like, what are you talking about? To the point that they are now doing things like getting rid of analog clocks because they don't know how to tell time, and different things like I mean, have you, and I mean this with all due respect, okay, because you're obviously articulate. I know that you know how to read. I also know that you know phonics, and that's a funny story. But what would you say to that? Do you think that, is that just like something I'm hyped seeing on YouTube, or would you say that there's some validity to that?
I would say there's potentially some validity. I would say amongst peers that I had in my class, I'm more at, I think Gen Z is 1997 to 2012. So I think it's honestly important to kind of compartmentalize that, because that's like, there's so much that happened in those 15 years with it, like, with the iPhone being released and whatever, where it's kind of like you have to compartmentalize it. But I would say with the people in Gen Z that are born in that 2009, 2010, 11, and 12, I think there is potential for that, because first off, in school, they tell us to, they give you books to read, and they give you, and then you have to come back, and then, you talk about what you read and you comprehend what you read. And a lot of times, now they just have videos on the books, or you can use AI and just look up, summaries on each chapter versus actually sitting down and taking the time to read, the 1 or 2 chapters a night. Or, in terms of just educating yourself too, I know a lot of less people are reading and more listen to podcasts, or more, just watch social media videos. And so I think, I'm not saying reading has become obsolete, because it never will be, but kids are finding different ways to educate themselves. But there, in fact, too, I think it is important to read. And I've seen, maybe with younger kids, they just don't have the vocabulary levels that they used to. But I think that's just because the way people educate themselves now is a lot different than it used to be. Like, for you to educate yourself back in the day, you had to read, even for myself, but now you don't have to as much. So people take the shorter route because it's easier to listen to something than sit down and read.
Yeah, it does take time. It takes focus. It takes concentration.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a comment by my good friend Coral. You must do very well in interviews. You're very confident. Do you get nervous? So that's her question. Do you get nervous when you're interviewing for a job or a new vocation?
Not too much. I used to, but I think since this is like what me and Eric have talked about this, but since really like getting deeper in my spiritual life, I've realized there's bigger things in life than just getting a job or money or, day-to-day things that we worry about. So I think, that experience, that, and me and Eric have talked about that. And, me really, I go to church every Sunday now. So that's like a different part of my life that I've really cultivated and, I guess have strengthened. I don't get as nervous now. Like, now it's not to say I do get nervous about things in life and sometimes interviews here and there, but, I realize like there's bigger things in life than the interview or, whatever is happening in the job. And I try to, pray it out and, move on about my day. So I would say, yeah, I have the human emotion of getting nervous, but I, it kind of goes away when you realize the fact that there's bigger things going on in life.
That's a phenomenal perspective. I was just doing a training the other day for the team, and I think it's important to have some words and phrases and word tracks in your pocket. And so when things go a little sketchy for me, when things get a little crazy, you know what? I have things to tell myself. And this is something that I've taught my precious grandson, and he knows it. I always say, listen, we're champions, mijo, and champions do hard things. Oh, yeah, that's right, Gams. I'm a champion, and champions do hard things. That's right. I think it's important to have those things so that when things do go awry, you don't get lost in the sauce and start going down the rabbit hole. And now suddenly you're giving up on everything because, everybody hates me. Guess I'll eat some worms. That's something we used to say a long time, Zachary. You probably have never heard that before. But
eat some worms. Yeah, I haven't heard of that one.
There was a song. Everybody hates me. Nobody likes me. Guess I'll eat some worms. Anyway, it's okay. That's You're bringing back the Gen X in me. Okay. I want to welcome my good friend, Jackie Holberg. She does incredible things. She's a community builder is truly what she is here on LinkedIn. If you don't know Miss Jackie, please get in touch with her. She hosts Just Jacks on Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific time. I think it's like 9 p.m. Eastern time. I also want to welcome my good friend, Coach Carrie. Oh my gosh, she is the Great Finances on YouTube. Check out our YouTube channel. She deals with group plans, retirement plans, and all of those things. Let's see. We've got a comment here I want to highlight. Dante, do you know Dante?
Yes, Dante is one of my best friends. I love Dante. Shout out Dante.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let you read this comment by Dante.
All right. As a young professional who's just entering the workforce, how can you foster a relationship with these business owners while competing with the generation between Gen X and baby boomers? Enjoying the conversation.
What would you say to that?
I would say, I think a good way to foster, these relationships between people in Gen X or in Gen Z, and baby boomers is getting in circles where the baby boomers are. So like I said, now that I'm kind of involved in the church, there's a lot of older people that go to church. So getting to meet like Eric and these people, different people in his networking group that are, of the older generation and getting mentored by them, I think is the best way to meet people that are business owners because obviously, like you said, these are the people that are owning the businesses, but they also give you referrals. So if Eric knew somebody that owned a business and knew like he wanted to sell it to somebody in Gen Z, I'm sure Eric would be like, hey, I have this great guy, Zach, or somebody else, whether it's somebody else, regarding that situation that could really, set you up for a long-term position with that business. What would you say? That's what I would say my strategy would be.
I love that. And what I would add is that I would be very vocal about what you're looking for. I would tell it to everyone you meet. I'm looking to have this career. I'm looking to build this kind of business. I'm looking to buy a business. I would even say that because you never know who overhears that conversation. One thing about baby boomers is they really know about networking. Listen, they grew up without social media. They know how to have conversations. And what I would also add is learn how to introduce yourself. I think this is a skill that has been really doesn't give a lot of attention. I've taught my precious grandson, and he's still working on it. Okay, he's 7 years old, but he knows when we go out, he introduces himself to people. I have him pay the waiter. I have him buy the food. I have them give the tip to the waitress a couple of weeks ago. And we talked about it. Okay, he's 7. We have deep conversations, but we talked about it. I said, okay, Miho's, how do you think she did? Oh yeah, she did good. I said, I agree. Did you see how she did that? And look at how she's talking over here. I'm pointing these things out to him. I said, so she's going to come. I'm going to call her over, and I want you to tell her why you're giving her this tip, right? And so it's learning to have conversations, learning how to really introduce yourself. Because when you do that, people pay attention. I'm telling you, that is baby boomer language. If you are even feeling a little bit, you're still not confident with it, just say, you know what? I'm not feeling really confident, but I just saw how incredibly passionate you are, or you just have this it factor. I would love to get to know you. I'm telling you that, and be genuine, right? I'm not talking about saying a script, but if you're really genuine, you know what, this is my vision. I see that you're operating this business, and one day I want to operate that kind of a business. I'm just curious, can I buy you a cup of coffee? Can we sit down and have a conversation? I would love to know how you started your business. Are you kidding me? That was gold, that was fire. I'm going to say it right. If you learn how to do that, you're going to find whatever it is that you're looking for. Because I promise you, baby boomers have wealth that they don't talk about. Oh, I can't even believe. Look at Zachary. You're making me give away all my secrets here. Baby boomers have wealth that they do not talk about. They have the wealth that people see in their equity in their homes. They have the wealth that people know they have a business, but they have this other stuff. They're really good at squirreling things away. And if you just get really good at sharing your vision, they're going to bring out a treasure that you've been looking for, because their children have no interest in it. You take an interest in a baby boomer, I'm telling you, I'm dropping gold bars. Give me a shout out, you guys. I'm dropping some gold bars right here. I want to also highlight, that was a great question, Dante. Thank you so much. Here's a great question by Coach Carey. Many people are building businesses with family members and passing it to children and grandchildren as a part of their legacy. You know what? I would say that's a minority of what I see. A lot of them are building the business with the family. However, their family, when I talk to them individually, their children are there working alongside with them. They do not want to do it forever. They will not tell their parents that they do not plan to be a roofer forever. They are developing an exit plan. Okay, that's what I've seen. But I don't know. I love the comment, Coach K. I appreciate you so much. Even with AI and math will always, that's right. Math will always be necessary. We got to learn how to have critical thinking skills. I think that's the biggest thing that we've lost is we have to understand things will be hard. Things will be difficult. You're going to feel confused. That's okay. That's part of the process. So many times when I'm mentoring someone and we start talking about advanced concepts, they start getting confused and they panic. They're like, oh, I'm confused. I don't understand. I'm like, no, that's okay. That's part of the process. Allow yourself to be confused. Allow that and just sit with it. There's no need to panic. I'm not going anywhere. You're not going to explode. Your head's not going to come off. It's part of the process. I've been talking too much. I want to hear more from you, Zachary. What do you have to say about this amazing conversation?
Yeah, this conversation has been great. And to add on what Carrie has said, I totally agree with what Carrie has said. Just doing mental math on a daily basis, whether it's, you're shopping or even my job, I have to do a little bit of math in my head to, to kind of, add up with what I'm doing. I think it's so important to learn those critical skills. And with reading too, because, I think reading is almost training in a way when you don't understand something and you just like, it kind of, hurts your head almost when you don't get what's going on in the book and you have to kind of expand the way you think and expand your worldview. I think that's training for, real life when things happen in life. And you're like, why did this happen? I don't understand. You have to sit there critically and critically think, why did this happen? How can I make better of this situation? Whether it's work, whenever you're struggling and, whether it's work or, relationships or life. And you can kind of critically think, okay. And you have that self-awareness, like I need to work on this and you can kind of change with what you're doing. And I think, reading teaches that in a way where you can kind of have that self-awareness where it's like, I don't understand this or this is hard. How I need to figure this out. And you can learn how to work with yourself and you learn yourself better through that as well.
Absolutely. So I love this comment here by Coach Carrie. She says daily affirmations and phrases are so important and that's why she does them daily. Do you have some affirmations that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, when I used to play baseball, I did used to get a little nervous when I would play, especially if I were coming up for an at bat in an important time of the game. But I would always just say like, I'm the best. And that might sound a little cocky, but I think having the mindset where, I'm not going to be boastful about it and talking to my teammates and telling them I'm the best. But if I tell myself I'm the best and I have that confidence in that affirmation, I'm going to play the best I can play. So that was a big one I used to tell myself. And then now, like, I just, I really tell myself if I'm feeling nervous or if I'm feeling, anxiety about a situation, like everything's going to work out at the end of the day. This is not life or death. Everything's going to be okay is the one I like to say to myself now. So I'd say those two were huge. Even now, if I get on a call and I'm in sales, right? So you still have to have that confidence. I'll tell myself I'm the best. I can close this deal and, kind of repeat it to myself. So when I get on the call, it's almost like you've manifested it, you can do it. And you kind of, when you tell yourself those things, you kind of think back where it's like, oh, I did this in the past. I did this. I can do this. So it gives you that confidence in yourself as well.
Absolutely. And no, Coral, I'm not going to be singing. Okay. That is not my intention at all. That will not be happening. But yes, the song, and I saw a comment by Jackie. She said that brings up so many memories. No, we used to sing that all the time. Okay. Because like when things went bad, that was our way to kind of, it's a play on words. But anyway, and then one thing I love to tell myself is, listen, that's a small thing to a giant. You got to see it from a different perspective. You alluded to this earlier that, listen, the world doesn't end and die on this job interview. And I think we have to really embrace stepping in and having those conversations with ourselves. I say, don't talk to yourself. Don't listen to yourself. talk to yourself. And you've got to believe that you're the best. You got to say that you're the greatest of all time. Listen, I'm a champion, and champions can do hard things. This is a small thing to a giant. Why? If you don't believe in yourself, how can anybody else believe in you?
That's huge. And yeah, like you said, I've learned that. I was a big Kobe Bryant fan growing up. And so I
Oh,
learned that all from Kobe Bryant and the way he would
long
talk. Like, you know what? If I want to succeed, whether it's in business or it's in sports or whatever, I have to have the same mindset. And so thinking that, almost being, arrogant with yourself. And then obviously when you talk to other people, you're humble and you're easy to work with. But with yourself, you have to believe that you're the best, because if you don't, it's a lot tougher to succeed in a lot of those, especially stressful situations where it's like, how do I get out of this? And then it's like, you know what? I can do it. I'm the best at what I do. And then you do it.
Here's a question by Miss Coral. She says, do you have any favorite books? What books do you read?
Right now, the book I'm reading the most is the Bible. I know that's like a cliche answer, but that's the one I'm really diving into now and learning a lot about that. And that's me and Eric talk about that all the time. Besides that, I haven't really gotten into too many books recently, so that's something I definitely want to get more into in terms of like my own like training and I guess getting better at my craft and sales. I watch a lot of sales podcasts on YouTube. One is called 30 Minutes, The President's Club. If anybody wants to shout out to them and look that one up. And so that's how I learn a lot about that. And then yeah, I would say that's the biggest book I'm reading right now is the Bible. And I guess like to answer the second question, how do I relax and wind down? It's usually just reading the Bible is how I relax and kind of calm myself down.
Reading, we used to have this commercial, reading is fundamental. It really is. It's a skill. If you do nothing, learn how to read. And I don't mean that people don't know how to read. What I'm saying is learn how to get quiet, learn how to turn off other things, and really sit there and listen to the author. What is the message that they're trying to relay to you? What is the thing you want to get out of it? I do this thing, I call it impact. Before I read or study, I think about what is the impact that I want to learn from this book? What are the questions I'm going to be asking myself or looking for, right? So that it's interactive. If we just read and we words, that's really static. There isn't any vibrancy with it. But if we make it like a conversation, what is this author trying to say to me? Then it becomes a totally different experience. Wow. I don't know where this time has gone, Zachary, but you've got a ton of value, a ton of golden nuggets. I want to know, what do you think? How can we start to bridge the gap between the generations, not just in wealth, but I would even say in conversations, right? We've got baby boomers who want to know how to relate to their precious grandchildren. What are some takeaways that we can really, some action steps that we can do? And I'm taking notes because my beautiful grandson is 7 years old. We have an incredible, wonderful relationship, and I want to know how to maintain that relationship. So I'm ready.
I would say for myself, learning what they like, and then for people that are older, learning what the younger generations like. So like I had a coach in college who was a little bit older, but he liked to listen to hip hop music with us. And that's how he learned to kind of get along with us. And I don't think he really liked it, like, so to say, but he at least pretended he did. So it made us think, he was the cool coach. We could get along with him, and that made us get along with him. And then for us, learning what the older generations like. So like even with myself and with my grandparents, I'll sit down and watch older shows like Cheers or Seinfeld, which aren't too old, but it really takes me into their world, and you can learn to appreciate what they like. And then that kind of, that's a way to build that bond with people that are a little bit older than you. And then whether it's like, obviously you're not going to sit and watch a TV show with somebody you met outside, but, I think sports is a big thing. Like that's really helped me, get to understand other people, where it's like, oh, did you see the game last night? And that's just such a great conversation starter because everybody saw the game last night, whether you're old, young, girl or guy, you've seen the game last night, whether it's the Super Bowl, whatever. So I think that's huge. And then just being genuine, I think too, once you get in that deeper level of conversation, it's like, yeah, like if you have a plan with life, tell them about your plan and what you're doing. And if you don't, just express that to them. And then usually people that are older, what I found is they really want to help people because they've been through the ups and downs of life. And so they're not really trying to gatekeep information or, I guess, guidance. They really want to help the younger generation. And so it's really our job to go out there and, go and shake our hand, and I guess go with an open hand and, go shake their hand and start that conversation, because usually older people are willing to talk to us and willing to help. I think it's just you taking the effort to go up to them, but also being genuine in the conversation, because people can tell if you're faking it, especially older people, because they've been through it.
Yeah, that is so brilliant. And we can appreciate it, right? When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. Maybe you don't love the music, but study the artist. So many times we hear just their music, but if you study their story, that's what gets me turned on when I learn like how they learned that craft or the first song they wrote when they were 5 years old. Like just
Mhm.
learning about them helps you to appreciate them. And here's another great question by Coach Carrie. She says, you mentioned baseball. Are you still involved in sports?
I'm no longer playing baseball full time. I don't play in a men's league or anything like that. I still go to the gym and lift, and that's a good way as well. Like to get, I think that's good for all generations to be active, and whether it's lifting, Zumba class, dancing, running. I think it's really important to stay active first off because it's super helpful for your body. It's healthy for your body, but it's also really healthy for your brain. Is what I learned. I learned the only way you can really increase your IQ as well. Like you can't increase it much, but if the only way you can really increase it is physical activity. So if you want to be, more, I guess, prosperous in your business life and your intellectual life as well, you got to stay active. So, yeah, I still go to the gym and lift. I'll play pick up basketball here and there just because I love staying active. I love the games. Like I love, I was just at the World Cup. I love soccer too. And so, yeah, I still definitely stay involved with sports and, playing here and there, but no like real organized sports at all anymore.
I love sports and I would watch any kind of sport. I even would watch NASCAR. And some
Oh,
people
really?
say, well, yeah, they're just like driving. No, if you study what they have to put their body through in order to be able to drive at those kinds of speeds, I mean, it's incredible. So, yeah, appreciate it by doing some extra studying and learn what it takes to win. Wow. So, in closing, Zachary, what is something that, when we talk about this gap on the generations of, how Gen Z thinks about wealth, what would you say is the one takeaway that everyone needs to understand about your generation?
I think the one takeaway that everybody needs to learn about my generation is that a lot of people they have aspirations. It's not that they're, mentally dead. It's not that they're soft. They're just distracted. There's just a lot thrown at them, whether it's online, whether it's on the TV, whether it's in school. There's a lot thrown at them, and a lot of people don't really know what to do. And so I would ask the older generation, like, be willing to go up to a younger person first and ask about their day because that doesn't happen a lot amongst the younger generation because a lot of people don't have strong social lives. So just investing in the younger generation is huge. And then I would say for my generation, like, go forth and put yourself out there as well because, nobody's going to come to save you at the end of the day. There's not going to be something, you're not going to hit big in crypto and make, billions of dollars. You're going to have to take practical steps every day to really achieve your goals. So I would say, yeah, like realize what you're doing and take ownership of your actions and then go forth and make a plan for the future that you every day you can attack smaller goals so at the end of the day or at the end of the week, the month, the year, or 10 years you can achieve a bigger goal. So that's what I would say is a good way to kind of bridge that gap.
And I say that is a great way to bridge that gap. Great golden nuggets, so much gems, so much wisdom. And I'm so excited for your future with you being a young 23 years old. Listen, you've got the heart of a champion. You absolutely do. I'm honored to be connected with you. And look at, oh my gosh, Mr. Eric, he says, great job. Awesome energy. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you. You made some new fans and friends. So, Zachary, how do people reach you? How do they connect with you?
Yeah, so feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's just Zachary Mascaro on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with all of you and have conversations and learn more about yourselves. And then I would love to talk about myself as well and, provide you some value. So yeah, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and I'd love to have conversations with all you guys. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you so much, Zachary. Now I'm going to put you down in the little room there. There's actually a Rubik's Cube that you can go ahead and tinker with until I come back. And so don't go away. Wow, was this so great? What did you guys learn? What was your takeaway? I would love to know what your takeaway is. Give Zach some love. He did incredible. I'm not sure how many interviews he's done here on LinkedIn, but he really brought the energy. He brought so much wisdom and value. Give him some shout outs. And if this was valuable to you, I'm asking you as a favor, right? I don't charge for this. I'm asking you as a favor to share this with somebody else. Watch the replay. Send it to somebody. Put your comments in there. One of the greatest things that you can do on my show is you can share who you are and what you do. Do you have a new book coming out? Do you have an event you're doing? Do you have a website you want to share with people? You have the opportunity, because this is my show on Wealthy Wednesday. You can shout yourself out. I say sometimes you got to rah yourself. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you, Miss Coral. So this has been a lot of fun. I do this show every single Wednesday, Pacific Standard Time, 10 a.m. I'm always looking for guest speakers, and I'm curious, who is looking for a speaking opportunity? I would love to get to know you and what you do and what is the value that you want to bring. That's the key. So many times people come to me and they tell me what they want. I want this. Give me that. Can I have this? I want to know what the value is that you can bring. What is your unique value? What do you have? What is your story? Maybe it's your business. Maybe you do a side hustle. Maybe you have a sport that you want to talk about. I know everybody has a story, but I want to know, what is your personal story? I appreciate you so much. Listen, this is 2026. It is our year to get in the mix. We got to come out of the shadows. We got to get in the mix. We got to shout ourselves out. We got to have some coffee chats. We got to connect with people, right? Because I truly believe if you're connected with me, it's because you are the one in your family. You're the one that's supposed to change your family's last name forever and build a family dynasty. Maybe that means you're the first one in your family to be out of debt. Maybe it means you're the first one in your family to buy a home. I don't know what that means. Maybe it means you're the first one in your family to write a book. Whatever that vision is for you, I would love to talk to you and get to know about your dynasty that you want to build. Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate you. I love you. I adore you, Team Live, and I love you so much, Team Replay. Thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Wealthy Wednesday, because your wealth today is your dynasty tomorrow.
Are you ready to take control of your financial future? Introducing Leah Garcia's Wall of Wealth, the ultimate one-page financial plan to protect, distribute, and transfer your wealth with confidence. Whether you're a business owner or just starting your financial journey, this step-by-step guide gives you the tools to create a solid foundation for long-term success. Don't wait to transform your money mind shift. Download your free copy today at leahgarcia.io and start building your wall of wealth now.